welcome back to Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm Cary Quashen, along with Bob Sherris, and we have Delise Diaz, a licensed marriage and family therapist that's been practicing here in Santa Clarita for over 15 years.
Yes, sir. Before
we went on break, we're talking about fathers, and you did a poll, and you got some really cool stuff, and your question was what? I
asked parents to ask their children a good father is, and to fill in that sentence, fill in that blank. So they got their kids and they wrote on Facebook, and here's a response from a 19-year-old who replied, a good dad is being there for your children and being loyal to your family, modeling respect and show understanding to not only his family, but to other people too. Then he ended his definition with basically everything opposite his own father, and I thought that was pretty heartbreaking.
Everything opposite his own father.
Yeah.
You know, and here's what you know, I was talking to the families in group the other day, and I'm saying, you know, kids don't have enough heroes today. Right. They really don't. I mean, every time and when we were young, we had heroes, and you know, they were actors or sports figures and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, it's changed a lot. Every time you look at someone you think's a hero, they're either going to jail or rehab. So really, it starts at home, parents, especially dads. Act like you, I mean, do what I say, not what I do doesn't work. If you want your kids to do right yourself.
Well, and I heard this young man say modeling
That's
respect.
Exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Being an example to your kids, I think. You know, we can tell our kids anything, but if we're not doing it ourselves,
right.
It's
walk like
actions will speak louder than any words that you'll ever preach to your child.
Walk like you talk. Hey, you know what? We have some callers.
Okay.
So I believe you have Rob on the line. So, Rob, you're on the line with Families in Action.
Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hey, just a question for you guys, and hello, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great day.
Thank you. You too.
You know, I'll make this brief. You know, we hear a lot about single moms in the news and the media and culture. And today, the only time that we hear about single dads is typically in a negative context, like deadbeat dads and dads, you know, people are trying to chase them for child support. But there are a bunch of dads out there like me who are single, not by choice, who are trying to do the right thing and trying to raise the kids the right way, trying to be good role models and examples and spend time with them and then everything. And I had a great dad, so it's not hard. But for single dads like me out there, and like hopefully those who are listening, Delise, what would be the one thing in the context of this conversation that you could tell us?
The great dads that are very available and present? Is that what your question is?
Yes.
Well, number one, that you have the power to affect your child in a very profound way. Now, is their mother still actively involved in your children's lives, too?
Not to any great extent.
Okay, so you are the hero that Cary was just talking about. You are the person that is present and available. And you mentioned you had a good father yourself, and he
absolutely
has been very instrumental in your life, and that is key. So now you're passing on the legacy to your children that what a great dad really looks like and acts like. And so what I would encourage you to do is know that your impact and your imprint on your children will not be, it's going to leave a legacy for when your children have children. So although their mother isn't quite involved, you are, and that matters. That's something that's going to be significant and impactful their entire life. So keep being the dad that you are. Keep being present and available. Always tune in and check in with your kids and ask them, you know, hey, is there anything that I'm doing that could be better? Don't be afraid to ask that question.
And you know what, Rob? You're only responsible for yourself. Mm-hmm. You only have power over yourself. So keep doing what you're doing. Sounds like you're a great dad that really loves your kid. Hey, will you do me a favor?
Sure.
Pick up your right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Put it behind your back.
Okay.
Pat yourself on the back. Because you need to give yourself some credit, man, and I'm sure glad you called in, and I'll tell you what, your kid will never forget what you do.
I have a question for you, Rob. What is the one thing that you do that you believe makes you a great father?
Well, it's actually thinking about the kind of dad that my father was.
Which is?
And thinking about how he would react in certain situations and how he would respond to myself and my sister in certain situations, and I think that if I model him, it tends to work out pretty well. It's just the basics. It's things like not blowing up, and dealing with things to where they don't feel demeaned or threatened. Encouraging them. Kids have bad days, but a lot of times they won't tell you what's going on. Mm-hmm. So, if you land on the side of encouragement as opposed to the side of coming down on them, then who knows? You could end up turning their day around.
Beautiful. Well, keep doing what you're doing, Rob. You sound like an amazing father, and your children are incredibly blessed. So thank you so much for calling.
Thanks for your show.
Absolutely.
You know what? That's really cool, huh?
I love it. Yeah, I know a lot of really great single dads. I'm really happy to say that.
Yeah, there are some amazing fathers out there. And I'll tell you, more and more fathers, and I could tell you that because we run groups and we get parents come. When we first started these groups years ago, it was a bunch of moms. Now we got just as many fathers as we do men. I mean, moms. So it's really pretty cool. More fathers are getting involved in what's going on with their children today.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there are a lot of single-parent households out there, and we get them, in our groups, we get both of them coming to support their kids. And I think the biggest mistake when there is a split and there's two different households, the biggest mistake that people can make is to make sure that they're not bad-mouthing each other,
yes,
especially around the kids. That's one of the biggest mistakes.
Absolutely. And you know what? We need to go on break, so let's pick that up when we get back from break. This is Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Welcome back to Families in Action, brought to you on our hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. If you're just joining us, we are in studio today with Delise Diaz, licensed marriage and family therapist here in Santa Clarita, and we are talking about what does it take, or what can we do, or how do we continue to be the best dads that we can possibly be? And we had a caller in, and I just want to say, I was, I didn't jump in there with Rob, but I was listening to Rob, and he's, if you're still listening, Rob, you are doing an awesome job.
Incredible.
Yeah, and our next callers that call in, if you have the question like, what can I do? Let's put you on the phone with Rob, right?
Hey, that was good. I like that. Hey, Rob, come over here.
That's right. Give us your number. Yeah. But you know what? Rob really spoke to something that is more and more present in our society today is single dads that are sitting out there and they're doing a fantastic job. I think the days of, in a lot of ways, the days of deadbeat dads is starting to fade away, and more dads are stepping up to the plate.
I sure hope so. I mean, there's nothing
I'd like to think so.
If you're man enough to be a father, step up to the plate.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think we're gonna take some more callers.
We have who? Shannon on the line now?
Shannon, you're on the air.
Hello, Shannon.
Oh, I think
How are you?
Oh, we got him back. Shannon, you're on the air with Families in Action.
Yeah, sometimes I just wonder, how do I know I'm being a good dad?
How do I know I'm being a good dad?
That's a great question. I think a lot of fathers probably secretly, at least, ask that to themselves, and they wonder. There's that Saving Private Ryan movie, where at the end of the movie, he's like, was I a good dad? Was I good enough? Did I measure up? And so it sounds like that's what you're asking, Shannon. Is that right?
Yeah, I work really hard to give my son the ultimate experience that I didn't have. Mm-hmm. For example, he went with his 8th grade class to Washington, D.C. for a week. I never got to do that, but I'm glad that I was able to make that happen for him, because he is blessed. He is very fortunate, and he's in an environment where there's a lot of opulence, so I have to work really hard to keep him grounded, so to speak, so he doesn't take things for granted.
Right.
I tell you what, Delise, you had said something to our last caller earlier that I think would really be beneficial to Shannon, is you said, ask your kids how you're doing.
I'm going to give a little exercise on that note. So you read my mind, and that is exactly, I want everybody out there listening, and you too, Shannon, you can do this. It's a fun little thing to do when you're out hanging out with your child. Say, hey, I want to know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me as your dad? Now, that takes a lot of courage, because a lot of dads might fear what answer they might give. But here is my encouragement to you. No matter what the answer is, the number one thing you need to say is, thank you so much for your honesty and for sharing with me. Yeah. And now if they said, well, a 7, that's pretty awesome. How can I be an 8? That would be your question.
And then listen. And then listen for the answer.
Don't make excuses. Listen, a lot of people, when they hear the answer,
why
get
I'm not
defensive.
A 10?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Upset. Why am I not, this or that? No, just listen and say, thank you so much for your honesty and your openness and for sharing. So whatever number they give you, ask them, how could I be in your eyes the next number? So if they give you a 6, how can I be a 7?
What if it's a 10? Should I ask?
what am I doing?
What am I doing right that makes me a 10?
I sure would like to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, but you know what, Shannon? Just you calling in, just you asking that question, just you wanting to be great at being a father is pretty neat.
You're ahead of the game. That's
You're
a great
ahead
thing.
of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah,
right.
you know, I pray with him every night before he goes to bed, and I hug him, and I feel I'm there for him. But I always want to be what else can I do?
You know, it's a rumor. I mean, not a rumor. Something it's ridiculous where men don't cry, men don't show affection, men don't hug. All that stuff's crazy. Men do cry, men hug, men be there for their kids, men do all that emotional stuff.
That's
called checked in.
Only the real ones.
Only the new ones. You're right, actually. I mean,
I
hate to say it, but he's almost right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of men on that note think that it's a sign of weakness to show emotion. And so, Shannon, one of the things that it sounds like you're already doing, but for the listeners out there, do not be afraid to show emotions with your kids. It's not weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. That's archaic thinking to believe that, to be emotional with your kids is not being a man.
It's okay.
Quite the opposite.
It's okay to say, I'm afraid, son, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Or, son, I'm sad. It's okay to do that.
Here's another one. I don't know the answer to that
That's
question.
right. I don't know.
Let's figure it out, right?
That's right.
Men think, a lot of men and fathers especially, they think they need to have all the answers and know all the answers. You don't. Hey, take that burden off of your shoulders and just know to say to your child, I don't have all the answers, or I don't know the answer to this question, but hey, why don't we work together to find a solution?
And you know what, Shannon? None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. The trick is
owning it.
Is what? Owning
your mistake.
Exactly. Owning it and be willing to change. And that's really the trick.
Sounds like you're very open, Shannon. Thank you so much for calling, and continue being the amazing father that you are.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for your show.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks a lot, Shannon. This is Families in Action. We'll be right back.